She was born into darkness. No faint glow behind her eyelids, no shadows, no silhouettes, not even the memory of light, because she never had it to begin with. Ava Mireille has been blind since birth, and yet her paintings shimmer, not with precision, but with emotion, not with sight, but with something deeper. People walk into her gallery and swear they feel color, that her paintings glow like they're alive. Some say they've never seen light expressed so powerfully by someone who's never seen it at all. How is that even possible? How can someone who's never known the color blue paint it in a way that makes others weep? How does a blind girl from a quiet town become the artist whose work is now studied in silence because words can't explain what it stirs inside you? The answer isn't simple. It's layered, like her brushstrokes, and it begins with a sound, a single violin note, and a brush dipped into the unknown. What came next? No one, especially not Ava, could have predicted. Stay with us, because what you're about to discover might just change how you see the world and yourself. Ava Mireille entered the world in silence and stayed there longer than most. When other babies reached for colors, she reached for vibrations. When others pointed to birds in the sky, she tilted her head to listen, to the flap of wings, the rustle of leaves, the hush that followed after. She was diagnosed with total congenital blindness at just 8 weeks old. Her parents were devastated, not because Ava wasn't whole, but because the world wouldn't treat her that way. They were told to keep expectations low, focus on functionality, teach Ava to cope, not to create. But her mother saw something else. She noticed how Ava's tiny hands traced the edges of objects like a sculptor, how she giggled when sunbeams warmed her face, even though she had no name for that sensation. By 4, she could tell who was in the room based on how their voice bounced off the walls. By 6, she described her dreams in textures. A sharp dream, she once said, like walking barefoot on stars. Her mind was a kaleidoscope of sound, touch, rhythm, and emotion. But still, no one thought she'd ever paint. Not until one unexpected classroom moment changed everything, because buried in the back of an old art supply closet was something Ava had never touched before. And when her fingers met that surface, it wasn't just paint she discovered, it was possibility. It happened on an ordinary Wednesday. Ava was 10 years old, quiet, cautious, and often overlooked in her mainstream classroom. She sat at the back, where no one asked her to read aloud or join in the drawing exercises. She didn't mind. She had grown used to a world that didn't make room for her imagination. But her art teacher, Ms. Liane, saw something different. One day, while unpacking supplies, Ms. Liane gently pressed a textured canvas into Ava's hands. Not flat paper, but thick ridges, grooves, and raised borders. Then came a brush. Then came paint, color-coded not by sight, but by temperature and scent. Cinnamon for red, lavender for blue, lemon oil for yellow. "Paint what you hear," Ms. Leon said, pressing play on a soft violin sonata. At first Ava hesitated. The room fell quiet, but as the music swelled, so did something inside her. She raised the brush and began to move. Her hand swirled with the rise of the melody, then trembled with the violin's high note. She tapped the canvas during the rests and dragged long, slow lines through silence. It wasn't technique, it was instinct, emotion, energy, synesthesia without sight. When the piece dried and was displayed the next day, classmates stopped and stared. What Ava had painted was different, not realistic, not literal, but raw. alive, luminous. A visiting artist from the district office saw it by chance and whispered, "Who did this?" A new path had opened, and Ava didn't even know yet that she had stepped onto it. But soon she would create something so powerful. It would silence a room full of critics and start a conversation that still hasn't ended. That first painting didn't win awards, it didn't hang in a gallery, but it did something far more important. It gave Ava permission to express herself in a language no one else could speak, a language of sound, memory, and feeling translated through her fingertips. She began painting every week, using spices and oils to differentiate colors, textured canvases to feel her way, and always with music playing in the background. Jazz made her strokes looser, cellos made them deeper, rain sounds gave her work rhythm. She called her pieces emotional landscapes, not because they looked like places, but because they felt like moments. Grief became bruised purples and jagged swipes. Joy became layered yellows and open spaces. Hope felt like rising spirals that escaped the edge of the canvas. By 14, Ava held her first local exhibitions at a community center. She couldn't see the crowd gathered around her work, but she could hear the hush. No small talk, no footsteps, just breath held still, as if people didn't want to interrupt the silence her art created. A national arts blogger happened to attend. One post turned into 5. An Instagram story turned into a movement. By 17, Ava's work was featured in a gallery titled The Light Inside. And that's when things changed, not just for Ava, but for the world watching her. Because in her next piece, Ava would create a painting that no one could explain. A canvas so haunting, so radiant, it made people question everything they thought they knew about vision. With recognition came attention, and with attention came pressure. Some celebrated Ava as a genius. Others reduced her to a headline, "Blind Girl Paints Emotions," the kind of label that sounds uplifting but flattens everything beneath it. She was invited to interviews where people spoke louder than necessary, as if blindness also meant deafness. She was asked questions that stung. Do you think people only like your work because they feel sorry for you? If you could see, do you think your paintings would be better? At one show, a man whispered just loud enough for Ava to hear, "This is just inspirational fluff. Real art takes vision." Ava went home that night and didn't paint for weeks, not because she believed him, but because she wondered if the world would. But in that silence, she remembered her very first painting and why she made it. Not for the critics, not for the galleries, but for the music, the feeling, the freedom. So she picked up the brush again, and this time she painted with everything she had. Frustration, loneliness, fire. It bled into every stroke. The result? A canvas so raw, so textured you could feel the pain in your fingertips just by looking at it. That painting didn't win an award. It shut down a gallery for an entire hour. People just stood there, silent. One woman said it was the first time she felt truly seen by someone who couldn't see her. Ava realized then her blindness wasn't a limitation. It was her superpower, because she wasn't imitating the world. She was interpreting it, feeling what others missed. And yet, just when she thought she had found peace with her path, a single moment would send her in a new direction. One that had nothing to do with painting for fame, but everything to do with giving that light away. Ava never set out to inspire anyone. She just wanted to feel her way forward, in a world that didn't make room for girls like her. But through each brushstroke, each unseen color, each canvas soaked in memory and sound, she gave the rest of us something priceless. A reminder that light isn't only what enters through the eyes. Sometimes it comes from the places we're told are broken. Ava helped the world see more clearly, not in form or detail, but in feeling. She taught us that vision is not just about seeing lines or symmetry or shadows. It's about sensing truth and sharing it. Because when you remove the distractions, the noise, the expectations, the labels, what remains is essence. And Ava painted from that place every time. Now, years later, her work hangs in homes and hospitals, in schools for the blind, and galleries lit by silence. But perhaps her most powerful creation wasn't a painting at all. It was a decision to use her greatest struggle as her greatest gift. And in doing so, give others permission to do the same. So here's the question Ava would ask you if you were standing in front of her now. What's your light? And are you brave enough to let the world feel it, even if they never fully understand it? Ava never saw the world, but she changed it anyway. Not with eyesight, but with insight. Not by mimicking the visible, but by expressing what most of us ignore. Her story is more than remarkable. It's a mirror. Because somewhere in your own struggle, in the part of you that feels unseen or underestimated, there might be a gift, a way of reaching people, not despite your challenge, but because of it. So ask yourself, what beauty do I carry that the world hasn't seen yet? What light could I give if I stopped waiting for permission? If Ava's journey stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Let it be the spark for your own act of courage. Share this story with someone who needs reminding that their difference might be their greatest strength. Leave a comment. We read every word. And if you believe the world needs more stories like Ava's, hit subscribe to join us here at Able in Every Way, where we tell stories not of perfection, but of possibility. Because the world doesn't need more flawless heroes. It needs more fearless ones, just like Ava.